Welcome to this GiftWorks video. My name is Jonathan Lehman, and this is the first video in a three-part video series on understanding mailing types. This first video will provide an overview of the four types of mailings: donor, donation, pledge, and receipt, and we'll also review the corresponding mailing templates. Subsequent videos will go into more detail about donor and donation mailings and provide examples of those. The expectation is that you would have some knowledge or experience with the mailing process within GiftWorks prior to watching this video. So let's begin. Let's get started. Let's sign into GiftWorks, and I'll click on the Mailings option on my toolbar. This brings me to the Mailing Center, where much of the mailing activity within GiftWorks can be initiated. I'm going to click over here on the left on Manage Letter Library. And if you've done any mailings within GiftWorks, you're familiar that you have a template library where there's various templates that are stored for your letters, where it has static information and also fields that can be populated from your GiftWorks information. And you'll notice that these letter templates are divided into four categories: donors, donations, pledges, and receipts. And these letter template categories correspond to the four types of mailings within GiftWorks: the donor, donation, pledge, and receipt mailings. Let's step back a little bit though, and we need to ask ourselves the question: how do I decide what type of mailing I need? Well, of course, all mailings are ultimately sent to a person or a donor, but you need to ask yourself, what recipient list should drive your mailing? Let me give an example of that. Let's go to Mailings. Let's click on Send Mail to a List. And I'll start with a mailing list, which is a list of donors. So in this case, you'll notice my recipient list is a list of donors. So is my recipient list a list of donors? That would be a donor mailing. Or if I send mail to a list, and I choose a donation smart list, and I send mail for these donations, you'll notice that my recipient list, although it has donor names, it's really a list of donations. So my recipient list is a list of donations. Receipt mailings also start with a list of donations. They're unreceipted donations. And then if I send mail to a pledges smart list and send mail for these pledges, you'll notice that my recipient list, although it has donor names, again, it's a list of pledges. So the question you want to ask is, what recipient list should drive your mailing? Is it a list of donors, donations, or pledges? And that will help you decide what type of letter or what type of mailing you're gonna do within GiftWorks. Let me give an analogy. Let's talk about the types of cards you might send regarding an event where gifts are received, such as a graduation party. Before the event, you might send an invitation to all the persons that you want to invite to your graduation party. The mailing recipient list would be a list of persons that are your friends, and this is very similar to a donor mailing. After the event, you might send thank you cards to all the persons who attended the graduation party. The mailing recipient list is a list of persons who attended the party, so it's just a list of persons, or a list which is very similar to a donor mailing. As a comparison, let's say after the event you want to send thank you cards for all the gifts you received, and you want to mention that the specific gift or gifts in your card. In this case, the mailing recipient list is actually a list of gifts that you have received, and this is very similar to a donation mailing. So we don't want to confuse the recipient list with the smart list that is used to start the mailing. So for instance, when I was clicking send mail to a list, and if I pick a donation smart list, a donation smart list is obviously a list of donations. But when I use a donation smart list to start a mailing, I could either choose to send the mail for these donations, which would populate a recipient list for my mailing, or I could send it mail to these donors, which would populate a donor list for my mailing. So if I choose the first option, I'm going to be doing a donation mailing, and if I do the second option, I'll be doing a donor mailing. So see if I click send mail to these donors, although I started with a donation mailing list, I ultimately end up with a list of donors, not a list of donations. Why is it important to understand the four types of mailings? Well, as I showed at the beginning of this video, it's important to understand the four types of mailings because the four types of mailings correspond to the four categories of letter templates. So if I'm doing a donor mailing, I'm only going to have the letter templates I'm only going to have the donor mailing templates available for me to use. If I do a donation mailing, I'm only going to have the donation mailing templates available for me to use, and so forth. A pledge mailing would have the pledge letter templates, and the receipt would have the receipt templates. So let me give an example of that. So again, we'll go back to our mailing, and if I click Send Mail to a List, and I'll just pick a donor mailing list here. So I'm going to be doing a donor mailing, and you'll notice when I do my donor mailing, I got a donor recipient list. The only list of letters here, these are the list, these are my donor mailing templates letters. Cancel this. Give an example. In this case, we'll do a pledges. If I send mail for these pledges, so that I'm doing a pledge mailing, I get a pledge recipient list, and you'll notice my list of templates is only my pledge mailing templates. And receipts are very much like donation mailings. They're just a special mailing that only includes all those donations that have not been receipted yet. So if you do that, and you select that option, you click Next, you get a list of donations that have not been receipted. And there's some other special things that happen during receiving mailing. But the important part is that, again, you only get the list of receipt templates. So why is that important to understand? Well, the reason that's important to understand is that if we manage Letter Library, and we click on one of these templates, and we edit that template, you'll notice there's certain fields that are available for a donor template. Primarily, the fields that are available for a donor template is donor information, and it's categorized into different categories. Some general information, some contact information such as their name and address and phone number and so forth. And the donation information that's included is summary or aggregate information. It's not tied to any specific type of donation. And then donor custom fields, and then some other fields, and also if you have volunteers or events, that information that's tied to that particular that's associated with a particular donor. If you look at a letter template for a donation, and look at the template, and look at the fields that are available to insert into that template, you'll see you always have the donor information, because you can always, if you're looking at a particular donation, you can always insert donor information. So donor information is always available for any of the templates. Same donor information is available. But what's different is for a donation template, you have donation-specific information. So you could put information on about specific donations, such as the date of the donation, the amount of the donation. You can also put information about all the payment type of information, and the campaign and fund and appeal and so forth. And if that donation happens to be for a pledge, you can actually include the information about the pledge that donation is part of. So you can see you can include donation and pledge information, specific information for a donation mailing, but you also have your donor information available. For a pledge mailing, as you can imagine, it's very similar. You would have all your donor information available. The same donor information is available. You don't have donation specific information because this is a mailing for pledges. It doesn't go down to the individual payment level. So you have information available for the pledge. You can show summary information about that pledge, and attribute information about the pledge, such as the fund and the campaign and appeal for that pledge. You have pledge specific information, and you can have some summary information of the payments for that individual pledge. So you can see that based on the type of letter template, it's going to determine the types of fields that are available to be selected for your template, and then those particular templates are going to be used with the type of mailing that you produce. So I hope this video helps you to understand the 4 types of mailings that are available within GiftWorks, and how the letter templates and the fields that are available for those letter templates correspond to the types of mailings that you would do. In subsequent videos, we will review each of the types of mailings in more detail, and we'll also provide some examples of that, which hopefully will help you to understand this even further. So we thank you for watching this video, and we encourage you to watch the additional videos, the subsequent videos as part of this video series. Thank you.